On our Lenten journey, today we arrive at the first day of Holy Week. And this week, we want to focus on and remember what Jesus has done for us to save us. What he did on Good Friday on the cross, what he did on Easter Sunday in the resurrection. And I want to do that by continuing through the life of Elisha in 2 Kings. We only explore a little bit of his life on Sunday mornings. And so this week, I want to look a little more at some of the miraculous things he does, because the things that happen in Holy Week are indeed miraculous. They're miraculous in our lives. And miraculous means that it's God who does the work, right? It means it's something that we can't do ourselves. And it's something supernatural that's beyond our natural abilities. And the cross and an empty tomb are both that. Elisha's first miracle was actually in the town of Jericho. It's recorded right after Elijah is taken into heaven. And it tells us very simply that Elisha goes to a town in Jericho, and they tell him they have a problem, that the water's bad. And because the water's bad, they can't plant things either. Their land is unproductive. And so Elijah has them bring him a bowl, and they put salt in the bowl. They bring it to him, and he throws that salt into the spring where the town's water comes from. And then he declares that the Lord has said the water is now pure. It will no longer cause death. It will no longer make the land infertile. And then it tells us that since that day, the water was pure. The bowl and the salt don't change anything. We know God does the changing, but the bowl and the salt are symbols. The bowl was a sign of purity. The salt was a sign of preservation, right? So he's purifying the water, and it's going to stay that way. God's going to preserve it. So the salt doesn't change the water. Elisha doesn't know some special chemical combination that's going to make things different. He simply uses these as a sign of what God is doing. Through this miracle, Elisha demonstrates that God wants to bring life to those who honor him. He's the living God. That's what we've seen throughout the book of Kings. It continues to declare Elijah and Elisha, this is the living God, the one true God. And Elisha is trying to show them through these miracles what God is going to do to bring life to those who seek him, who don't seek answers in Baal, who don't seek answers in the things of this world, but who seek answers in God. And Elisha is the one who God does that through. God does the work. Elisha is the one that God uses. And Elisha's name means God saves. And throughout his ministry as God's prophet, he demonstrates to God's people how God is going to save them. And here we see him save this town through the changing of this water. And so as we look at these different miracles, we're going to see the different ways that Elisha is used to demonstrate that God saves. And as his name means that God saves, today we see that God saves by restoring things that are broken. He takes something that is meant to bring life, something that's meant to be good, something that comes from him, but has been corrupted. It no longer serves the purpose for which it was created. Something in this world has changed it. But God, in his grace, in his power, in his mercy, in his love, restores it. He makes it what he always intended it to be, and it allows it to serve the purpose for which he intends it to serve. God does the same thing in our life. He doesn't just do that in water in a spring in Jericho, but God restores the things that are broken in us, the things that no longer are what God created and intended them to be. He changes us. He changes our hearts. He changes our lives, not because of things we do. We don't need a bowl and salt. We have a cross and an empty tomb. And God has saved us from our brokenness through that. And so I want to challenge you in this Holy Week to look at the things which God can restore in your life, can make whole, can bring back to the purpose that He created them for in your life. May He bring you wholeness and restoration in this Holy Week through what Jesus has done to save us.